All right, hey there, friend. This video is designed specifically for the kind of person who's just gotten themselves a 3D printer, or you're really looking into it and you're interested and you kind of want to know a little bit about the setup and what you might need to be successful. Now, I've been doing things here for about, 6 months or so, so I'm not like the top tier expert of the world, but I've had about 3,000 hours, 3,000 successful hours now on my Bambu Lab P2S. And there's some things that I've found that are just absolutely fundamental for me having successful prints. So if you are the kind of person that's been doing this for 10, 20 years, something like that, and there's something I'm missing, let me know in the comment below what you think I got wrong or what you think I got right. I'm gonna go through some of the parts, the pieces, the tools that I have here behind me, and let's talk about the things that we need to be successful with our prints. All right, so one of the first things that everybody needs, and everyone is going to think, oh, maybe I don't need it, but trust me, eventually you will. You're going to need some kind of tool or device to scrape your prints off that build plate. Now, more often than not, if you let it cool properly, you give it a slight flex, you're going to be able to just pop them off, no big deal. But every once in a while, when you're using something like PETG, or maybe you've just got a really finicky, difficult print, you're going to want to go ahead and get yourself something to scrape the print. This is the blade. It's like a tiny bit sharp that comes with the P2S, and I've gone ahead and printed. I think this is the one that actually is built right into the machine, or maybe I found it on Maker World. And this one here, I definitely found on Maker World. I don't love it, but it's decent. This little bit here is to scrape the little line that prints the, not the purge line, but the calibration line that prints right on the build plate. And then here is for printing the prints. Now you can remove this end, but it's really difficult to get it out of there. And this, be very, very careful, is actually like the X-Acto blade that I use for cleaning the stove. And if you're very, very careful, boop, and it pops up, this has actually been my favorite of the scrapers as far as use. So you're gonna find all sorts of tools and solutions for that problem out there, but I would say for certain, one of the first things you should print or acquire is going to be a build plate scraper. All right, another tool or a finishing agent that I use really frequently is some kind of super glue, and I need to get some activator. There's a spray that you can use to activate, your glue right away, but this is something I use more often than I ever thought I would. This is about my third bottle of this already. There's tons of different makes and varieties out there on the market, but you're gonna need some glue. You might not need it immediately, but it's gonna come in handy. Definitely use your PPE when you're working with anything toxic, but this here has come in pinch in a absolute clutch for so many different prints. So keep in mind, you're probably gonna need some glue on the bench, but just keep your hands, your eyes, and all yourself safe. Now, not to be overlooked, you really want to maintain this printer, whatever printer it is you buy, whether it's a Bambu Lab or any of the other brands out there. This is a secondary product that doesn't come with the machine. Of course, use what you can get from the manufacturer, but you're going to want to oil your rods and grease your screws. This is a variety that was recommended to me on many different forums and videos, so I'm by no means the first person to use this, but this brand and these varieties have worked very, 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 very well for me. I picked them up on Amazon for cheap, and this will last a long, long time. You can 3D print some little tips and ends. I tried one already. It didn't really work quite so great, but I find if I'm just a little bit careful with it, it goes on well. A little bit goes a long way. The more you maintain your machine, I think the longer it's gonna last and the better results you're gonna get. Okay, so I actually printed this box right off of Maker World, and maybe it's a bit overkill, but when you buy a new, when you buy a new Bambu Lab printer, you get a few extra things with it. Now, you get one of these little silicone socks, and I've bought, as you can see, a few extra hot ends. But this is a nice way, I don't want to drop that. It's a nice way to keep a lot of the tools that come with the printer. I've already used a lot of these, and you can just keep them in the original container, no need. But I mean, when you have a 3D printer, especially if you're just getting into it, you're going to find out that a lot of what you're going to want to do in the beginning is print things to upgrade and maintain your 3D printer. So, I bought a few extra things here. These are like some scraper blades and some silicone socks. This is some of the factory grease and lube that came with it. So just something to keep things organized, You can bypass on this if you want, but honestly, I love it. And it's been a nice way to keep things organized. You know, I like to keep it tidy. So something to consider is just a little container to maintain all those extra parts and pieces in an organized way. So another thing is I was able to print these tools directly off of MakerWorld, and they've come in handy, quite a few of them. I haven't used all of them just yet, but inevitably you're gonna run into some kind of problem, some kind of process that you're gonna need to repair, you're gonna need to work on. And as you can see, these are all very specialized tools that, you know, you may not use all of them, but it only cost me a few cents to print these off. And I've obviously got them up on the Scatus pegboard there. And just, you know, something to consider is looking into custom tools that you can print. It's going to help you, you know, to work on your machine, not damage anything, and allow you to get that repair or that maintenance done quickly, easily, without damaging anything. So these needle nose pliers are definitely some of the tools that I have used the absolute most. I started off with these little small ones, which are fine for some of the more fine work. And in fact, these bent end ones have worked very well getting into some little nooks and crannies. So I do think you'd like to have, you know, a small set like this. However, for some of the bigger ones, you really want to get a proper size tool that's a little bit stronger, a little bit more capable. I've used this little cutter on it a couple times, but overall, you just want that strength and the ability to grip and grab things with a very accurate and very strong way. Taking off supports, I think, is the #1 use of these. Maybe there's been a couple other reasons I've picked them up, but overall, removing supports for some of your models and different prints you come up with, you're going to need some pliers, or at least you're going to benefit from having them. So just a few bucks, pick them up. Maybe you've already got them out in the shop or in the garage kind of thing, but definitely not to overlook this fundamental tool. Okay, now this funny little tool, this is called a deburring tool, and as you can see, it's got a little rounded blade on it, and most of the kits that you'll find come with, you know, a variety of little blades that you can use that all have varying angles. And the idea of this is just a piece of a misprint that I did, and you can see, like, if I take off that support a little bit, and obviously that's just a terrible job of removing it, maybe you could use the pliers, you know. But it allows you to get into those rounded areas and clean up some of your prints. And as you can see, it helps you to maintain the shape of the print. It's just a quick test here, but the shape of the print without causing too much damage. That's part of the misprint there. This was just a part of a model, and you can see it allows you to work with the curvature of the surface you're cleaning without cutting straight lines into everything. Now, speaking of straight lines, there's actually a very good case to have yourself a little bit of a hobby knife set. You could just get a single blade, but I've actually broken one already. Wear some safety goggles, okay, when you're working with sharp and dangerous tools. This one here, you can just interchange the kind of like, you know, X-Acto style knife. And it got all these little blades, and so many times I've been taking apart pieces or just cleaning up models. And a lot of 3D printing, you know, if you're brand new to it, it's about the post-processing, taking what it is you've made and kind of finishing it up, cleaning it up, and making it look good. So, you know, lots of different blades in here. I'm not going to play around with them. Please be very careful, be safe, wear safety goggles. You know, if you're young, please ask an adult for help, but obviously just be careful. These are tools, and that's a little sharpening stone that this little simple Amazon kit came with. So just keep in mind, cleaning up your prints is going to come in handy so often. All right, and on the same trend of cleaning up prints, this here is a little butane torch, and I've got the fuel just up there, but this is that piece that I was just working on, and you can see, if I just be careful with the zoom, how it's kind of like white and a little bit nasty there. So if I turn this on, be very careful, just a quick little blast, and now the color is completely fixed. It softens up a little bit. You can touch things up. Any of those little wispy threads or hairs, not hairs, but like, you know, the little filament threads that are on models, you just take this and just blast it over it super duper quick. It's like I use this to start the barbecue. I use this to light candles now, especially if you got them down in a deep jar, you know, those candles that are hard to light at the bottom. But for cleaning up your prints, this works wonders. Just bring it a quick blast over the surface and you get yourself a beautiful finishing surface. And this little baby here, these little side cutters with very sharp, accurate blade, I use these almost every time you're loading filament. because, you know, when you have that little end that you tuck into the holes of the spool, sometimes they get pretty bent, pretty mangled up, and you just want to clean it up and make sure they load into your AMS or into your printer cleanly. You can use a pair of scissors, sure, no problem, but these little side cutters were like, I don't know, $5, $10. I have used these probably as much or more as any of the tools that I've talked about today. Strongly recommend, highly recommend, get yourself a little pair of side cutters just for cleaning up your filament, and sometimes I use it for cleaning up models as well. It works a charm. They're so good, so quick, and absolutely recommended. And I'm not by any means any kind of custom model maker, but this little digital caliper allows me to measure very, very easily in millimeters or in inches. You got your imperial and metric measurements. You know, there's been a few models where I've printed off one of the parts and it's been a tiny bit too little or a little bit too big, or maybe you want to start making some custom pieces. I actually made a custom game piece for a friend of mine one day for their backgammon set of all things, and this allowed me to just make it just perfectly so that I could go into the slicer and I could customize it to fit exactly what their needs were without having to print and print and print 10 times. So get yourself a cheap electronic digital caliper. Maybe you've already got them, put them to work in your 3D printing setup. I think you're gonna be really, really happy with it. And another thing that, I mean, it's gonna be obvious to someone who's printed for a long time, but the build plates that come with your printer, if you've got a Bambu Lab machine, you're gonna get one of these, or, you know, depending on the make and model, it'll be a little different shape and dimension, but this is your standard PEI textured plate, and it works fine. I used this, you know, for quite a while, didn't have too many problems with it until I did start running into some problems. This is a generic version of it. This was, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks. Works just as well. Obviously having this, I have to look to see how it goes back in there. Having a stand to keep them organized comes in really, really handy. However, if you look up here on the printer, I have a couple other plates. This one here, definitely not sponsored, but if you guys want to hit me up and sponsor a video, I would love it. This cryo grip plate, as well as, this is the Frostbite version, and this is the Glacier, I think it's called, yeah, cryo grip Glacier. This Frostbite plate literally changed the game for me. I haven't had that many, you know, prints lose adhesion, but when you do have one go wrong, it can be a little bit of a problem. You can see I had a print that just left a bit of a mark on there. But that Frostbite plate, that blue plate, that's what I have sitting on the machine right now. And it's what I use almost all the time. Comes in very, very handy. And it's just so consistent, works so good. I strongly, strongly recommend it. And on the same build plate topic, these here are just your basic microfiber cloths. When you're cleaning them, I find these do a really good job. Just use some Dawn dish detergent. Give them a quick little, you know, non-adhesive scrub with a clean scrubber without any, you know, grease on it. Because the idea is you want to keep your finger oils and any food oil residues off the build plates. Clean them up real nice so that when you use them, they are absolutely good to go and you're going to get that good adhesion. And just sort of like to finish up here in a broad sense, you can do 3D printing these days from a phone, but honestly, you're not going to have the level of control that you want unless you're using a computer. If you take a look here, there's so many little options and settings in the slicer software. This is running on a Linux terminal using Linux Mint. Works absolutely fine. You can run that on Windows, you can run it on Mac, no big deal. You're going to want to have a computer. Even just a simple laptop should get you set. As well, I don't have a huge space, but this little bit of workbench that I have gives me a nice way to work on the prints, to finish them, you know, cleaning up the supports and stuff like that. You know, you're going to need a little bit of space to work with when you're doing 3D printing. And as you, I'm sure, have already noticed, I've got this pegboard up here, and every single tool that is on the board has been mounted and organized with the 3D printer. So all these little holders and hangers, these are all just printed nicely on the printer. Works a charm. That's just my headlamp. I don't know that you need that for 3D printing, but I, for one, enjoy the organization. You may or may not, but you could just throw it in a drawer, leave it on the bench, whatever you like. But for me, that's been a real game changer, having a nice organized space Oh, and I almost forgot one here. You're gonna wanna have some kind of desiccant, as you can see here. This is the activated alumina, but you can also use silica. And what I do with that, I'm gonna move the camera over here. So up inside the AMS units, there's these little containers here, and I've printed these as well. And I'm not gonna take it out. It's just a small little basket that allows you to put those beads. And you can see I've got them in the front of all of them. I also printed some in the back. And if you guys want any of these files, let me know. I can add them to the description. But it's been a real game changer, because depending where you live, the humidity in the environment can really impact the filament. I'm in Alberta, Canada. It's not too bad. Even in the summer, it only gets to like 50–60% humidity here. But if you're somewhere where it's way more humid, that could have a massive negative impact on your printing. So you want to be careful. You can see down here, I've got a dryer. That's the Creality. I forget the exact model of it, but that Creality box can dry 2 spools, which is very helpful. And as well, I've also got I've got the AMS HT down in the bottom there. That can dry. I tend to put my PETG in there because it can have the higher temperature. And then of course, both the AMS Pro 2 units, I have the extra power cord so that I can dry with those as well. Humidity management is really important. It's, you know, it is a tool of the trade and something that I definitely recommend. All right, so thank you so much for watching the video. Those are some of the tools that I use almost every single day when I'm 3D printing. But let me know, did I miss something really obvious to you? Maybe there's something I should add to this bench that you think you're just screaming at me that I'm missing. Let me know in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. You know, what do you think of the setup? Am I doing good? Am I doing bad? What do you do? I'm interested to have a little bit of a conversation on this subject. And if you like the video, make sure to hit that like button and please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the love and the support. Thank you so much for watching.